when Jesus was giving the great commandment, he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And we forget that part. As a leader, Sabbath can be a point of tension. We know that God commands us to rest, but if you're like me, we also know that our to-do list isn't getting any shorter. So we have our great friend Faith here as part of our summer series. And, Faith, I need to ask, because I'm doing this series more for myself than anybody else, because this is not my strength at all. So I need to know, what do you do to rest, and what does Sabbath? You're a mother, 4 children, co-pastor a church, run a conference. So there's a lot going on. So what does Sabbath look like for you? Because I know that you are not running away to a mountain and being kind of like a Benedictine monk and just kind of, because you've got 4 children that need to be fed. So I want to know what it looks like.
Yes, I love it. I mean, so because of the 4 children and because of the various things that go on in my life, every week is different, right? And so I had to first be okay with the fact that I don't have a day-to-day, week-to-week same rhythm. But what Sabbath looks like for me, what rhythms of rest look like for me, is that fun becomes a seasoning to my life. So fun cannot be an event, because you have to schedule an event, and sometimes that is impossible to schedule, right? Although I do try to, and I would say my goal is to have at least 1 full day of rest, doing no work and having fun per week. But you know what? If you're traveling a lot during that week, having that 1 day to schedule may feel impossible, but I don't feel pressured by that, because I make sure that fun is the seasoning. It's not events. It's not an event. It's a seasoning to my life. So every day I make sure I do at least one fun thing. Every day I make sure that I have something to look forward to that is superhuman and not pastor faith or mommy or wife, but it's just for me. And so that's how I keep myself accountable.
Fun is what?
Oh my goodness. Sometimes I like to watch the right TV show with a pint of ice cream, or I like to walk around. If it's nice right now, fall looks like the most beautiful thing in New Jersey, or at least right now as we're recording this is fall. So, I mean, fall is a very beautiful time in New Jersey, and it's just such a beautiful thing to walk around in. And I walk around with my dogs. Sometimes I like to just go out of my way to get that right cup of coffee that I know I can't make at home. Sometimes I go out to get that one snack, or just honestly, I mean, I'm a suburban girl. I live 15 minutes from New York City, but I'm in the suburbs. So there's not many things one can do, but these things. But I just make sure that I do it simply because I like it.
So how do you, with so many different things happening, as we've talked about, like you talked about, traveling and how do you prioritize? Not necessarily I know you said you plan one fun thing every day, but how do you maintain the presence of mind? Because I know when you have such a to-do list, when you have so many things you're doing, I'll get to the end of my day. And now like parenting, I also have 4 kids, parenting all these kids, getting work done. I often lose the presence of mind to remember to do something, but as silly as that sounds. So how do you keep a presence of mind for those things?
Yes. I have learned to honor my being. And I know that sounds very frou-frou and very fluffy. But as a female minister, I have a difficult time prioritizing who I am and what's going on in my heart. It's easy to just go for the mission and do what it takes. And it doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're sad. It doesn't matter. And it's so easy for me to disregard my own self. I have learned to, over time, honor myself, just as the Lord has honored me, honor my emotions. I know we're supposed to not allow our emotions to take the steering wheel. and not allow it to run the show. And I get that. But at the same time, we can't disregard it because our emotions are trying to tell us something. And so at the end of the day, I always survey my heart. How's my heart doing? And if I find that, wait, there's a burden and I don't know why. I don't feel like praying, but I don't know why. I'm angry, but I don't know why. I really try to honor what's going on internally and take the cues to know how to steward my body, steward my heart, steward my mind. There's been times when I remember I felt stale in my prayer life and I had to really introspect, like what's going on here? And I realized, it's because I have a TV show running every time there's a quiet moment in my house. Maybe I should turn that off once in a while, and always surveying what's going on in my heart and making sure
I think that's so important. I think, I'm either always listening to a podcast or listening to a book or listening. And there are times I've just got to press that off button and go, no. And I love that you said you honor yourself, because even a lot of people listening to this podcast are going to be thinking, wow, okay, either are we all sort of suddenly becoming new age, or are we, or we're not supposed to do that because we're Christians. And it's actually quite contrary, because, when Jesus was giving the great commandment, he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And we forget that part because most of us, we do. I think why there's so much division and contention in the world is we do love our neighbor as we love ourselves. We just don't really like ourselves. And, we love God with all our heart, mind, and soul, but it's our very tormented mind, our broken heart, and our wounded soul. So the more we can tend to that inner world, which I think Sabbath gives us that opportunity to do, the greater number, first and foremost, is our capacity to love and receive love from God. And secondly, then, to love others as we love ourselves, and taking time to honor. I love that you use that word. To honor ourselves is so important. And when we look at the whole reason that God instituted Sabbath was, you had the Israelites that were in slavery and they had worked and worked and worked, without a break ever. And God's like, I want to honor you, that you were not just created to work, but even God rested from his work on the seventh day, and you are no longer slaves in Egypt. You are now free. And of course, we're free in Christ. And so the fact is, taking that time to put God first and to look after ourselves. I think it goes together in that, which is crucial. But, let's be real, for us who, even our personalities, it's not just like we're driven because we need affirmation, but we actually like what we do. So there's and we're type A personalities or wherever we fit, so accomplishment actually makes us feel good, not even for what other people think of us, but just for when we put our head on the pillow at night. I know that act of being still, that act of disconnecting, it's not only because I'm a control freak, but I actually passionately love it and it fuels me. So to have to disconnect is a real act of faith, in the midst of all of that, and a sense of saying, God, this is yours and not mine. And so I think all of those things are really, really important. And I'm just kind of wondering, because, in all that I've known you, I mean, you love it. You love traveling. You love seeing souls saved. You love building the church. You love encouraging Asian American women and activating people. And so I want to know, does Sabbath come naturally for you? Right.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Immediate answer, no, it does not. Because like you said, it does give me life. What's more life-giving than being in the anointing of God to do what you do? It makes you want to run around. It makes you happy. It makes you joyful. It makes you feel so in tune with heaven. And so, there is that, however, honoring the limitations of my body, the limitations of my mind, so that I could remain in that anointing is something that I have to really keep myself in check with. And I have to really ask myself, is everything that I do, is it ministry related? Or is there things in my life that I do simply because I'm a human? simply because I'm God's child. And I have to really always make sure that I'm keeping myself accountable. And to be honest, having children was the best accountability system. It really was. And this is not to say you can't be an amazing leader without children. You really can, actually. But for me, what I thought was actually in my way was actually keeping me centered in the presence of God. Because, I mean, kids, they don't care that you're a pastor. They really do not care how many books you sell, how many people you preach to. They're like, watch me chew this gum, Mom. You know? And they just want you to be human. And if you can't be human for your kids, then that's a really big wake-up call, even for myself, to realize, wait, I need to make sure that I am doing things that are just because I'm human, you know, that just because I'm a human being, whether it's walking around in the mall, you know, doing my own nails, like things that are just simply because I'm Faith Eury Cho, human being, child of God, and not just leader, speaker, author, and so on.
Yeah. So Faith, you've given us so much between this episode, this bonus episode, and your last one. You have dropped so much wisdom on us, but also you've talked about how important fun is. And so between those two, I want to know what is on your must try list. So for those of us who are looking for something new, you know, rest for me, Sabbath for me looks so much like trying new things. I love to try new things. So what do we have to try? What is something, whether it's a book or something you enjoy that's just really fun, a type of coffee, anything?
Yeah.
What do we have to try? What do I need to put on my list for my Sabbath?
Honestly, I'm not exciting. So this is going to be really boring. I'm just being very honest. Like I saw this question before this and I was like, wow, I don't know if I think I'm going to fail this one, but
There's no right answer.
Yeah. My God, honest truth. I actually, my last fun thing that I did, because I'm a multitasker and I love it when I could do multiple things at once, I got a walking treadmill into my living room so that I could watch things and walk at the same time. And it has been a game changer. It has been such a game, because I used to have a gym membership. And I didn't know why, but it was not helping me. It was, if anything, it was stressing me out. And I'm like, what do I love? Honestly, I know we always tell people, don't scroll through social media, don't watch Netflix so much. I love TV. I love movies. I love film. And I just love it, you know? And so to get a treadmill, like one of those walking pads, into my living room, and I could put it under my sofa, you know, when I'm not using it, best decision ever. Best decision ever. It makes sure that, one, I don't watch TV too much. That's, you know, because you're walking and you're exhausted. But it also makes sure that I'm moving my body and I feel so good afterwards. And it gets me really focused for what I got to do afterwards. So not super unique, but that's what I love it.
It sounds like fun. And let me just say, if I lived in New Jersey in winter, I would have one of those as well, because that's what.
Yes.
So for all the people that are in tropical climates that are not understanding that, I'm like, y'all, just go there for 5 seconds. Okay. You know what?
Right.
You know, thank you so much, Faith, for your insights. And what I'm loving about this series is the fact that we're not trying to say that we've got it all. In fact, we're probably trying to show that as women, often with multiple responsibilities, so much of the teaching around Sabbath and rest and silence and solitude, it's also awesome. But a lot of it is not practical for either the single mum that's got to work 3 jobs in order to get her kids through school, or someone like you two that have got 4 children, or any of us that are working in the real world. I was recently in Greece visiting one of our A21 offices, and we went to Mount Athos where all of the monks are. And I just laughed with my husband. I said, oh, to be able to go onto the top of a mountain for the rest of my life and just not, I would have so many fruit of the Spirit, because I would have like no interaction with any human, so I would sin less in my thought life and my words, because I would be using less. And if I could just like meditate on the word and the Lord and have goat milk every day, and you know, it would be awesome. But I'm trying to go, okay, if you live in New Jersey, or Rachel in Ohio, and you're pastoring churches and you've got 4 kids, and you know, you're just working with marginalized communities and you're rescuing the victims of human trafficking, and there's practical life, and yet you go, how do I still honor the principle? And that's, I think, what we're trying to do in this series is go, none of us have got it all together. And I'm hoping that we're letting all the women off the hook, because I think so much of the teaching around this puts people in more bondage and guilt and shame and condemnation. And that's never what the Sabbath was meant to do. And so I'm like, if it's, walking on a treadmill so that you can finally catch up on and binge watch on that Netflix season, or, going out and getting a tub of Ben & Jerry's, whatever it might be, I think that is just realistic. So we love you. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining us, for all of the people that have been listening to this here on our Propel Women podcast. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get notified every time a new video is posted. We are so glad that you're here and look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you.